Hey everybody, this is your Digital Super Saiyan 3, back here with a new video, and, well, I guess I'm gonna talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yes, I myself have had my experience with TMNT, particularly when it came to my time period of the TMNT, since it's been around since the 80s. The TMNT era I grew up in was the era of the 2000s. And particularly, the one TMNT film I did see the most of was TMNT 2007. Now, TMNT 2007... Now, Ninja Turtles 2007 is definitely an animated film I loved watching and rewatching. And I had just rewatched it recently, and I gotta say, it still holds up, even to this day. Yeah, I'm still upset that it was a TMNT film that bombed pretty badly. And given the fact that we got a new animated TMNT film out in theaters right now, I figured why not go back to talk about the 2007 film. So this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2007. We begin with an opening narration of the Turtles jumping across the rooftops of New York City, as a narration is done by Lawrence Fishburne, who plays the role of a narrator. And it flashes forward to the distant distant past, 5,000 years ago, before the Turtles were ever mutated. A great general led an army. He was a conqueror named Yodel. And as he and his four generals formed a brotherhood. Anyway, he discovered a portal to another dimension as the stars of Keegan had aligned, thus giving him immortality and turning his generals into stone, as well as unleashing 13 monsters across the globe, as well as unleashing 13 monsters that plague humanity to this very day. We then flash forward to Central America, as a colonel has basically, or as a warlord colonel has basically been taking this Central American village and their riches for all their worth as insurance, as protection. Pretty soon, the colonel and his goons are picked off one by one by a mysterious ghost of the jungle. The colonel comes face to face with the ghost, who in turns to be Leonardo. Yes, that's right. Leonardo makes his debut very quickly as the first turtle we see on screen. Then, after Leonardo quickly defeats the colonel, we cut to the colonel's vehicle rolling into the village, and this kid seeing Leonardo from a tree, as Leonardo became the legend known as the Ghost of the Jungle. There, we then meet April O'Neil, voiced by the ever-talented Sarah Michelle Gellar. Yes, that's right. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and she plays April O'Neil. I gotta say, I think she was a really good fit for April. I actually think she was probably my favorite voice of April. I mean, yes, we've had many voice actresses who have voiced April over the years, but I would say Sarah Michelle Gellar in the 2007 movie was very underrated. Anyway, as she's walking through the jungle, she falls into a pit, but is saved then by Leonardo as a title card appears. Leo tells her a little far from home, and Leonardo is voiced by James Arnold Taylor. Yes, that's right. who would later go on to voice Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Star Wars The Clone Wars animated TV show. And yes, Taylor has also done plenty of different voice acting works. April told Leo that she was on business, that she was already on business in South America, but she then tells Leo what's been going on at home, as things with the Turtles haven't been the same since Leo left. Donatello, voiced by Mitchell Whitfield, has got a job as an IT tech support. Michelangelo, voiced by Mikey Kelly, is a mascot for a pizza company called Cowabunga Carl's, and he does birthday parties. And then Leo asks, what's Raph been up to? And then we cut to Raph, voiced by the ever-excellent Nolan North. Okay, Nolan North was a great Raphael. I'm not gonna deny, he was perfect as Raphael in the cast. Anyway, it turns out, what Raph has been doing at night is basically bashing criminals' heads in as a vigilante known as the Night Watcher. And we actually see what he's up to as he's busting up a robbery, with the leader of the robbers being voiced by the ever-excellent Jim Cummings. Yes, Jim Cummings is in this movie. And a few other voice actors and actresses here and there, like John DiMaggio and Tara Strong even gets a voice act. Even Tara Strong even appears in this movie. Anyway, April tells Leo, if Master Splinter were here, he'd tell you to look inside your heart. Okay. Now, we cut back to the docks of New York City as April arrives, as April is in charge of her own cargo company. As she had been importing 5,000-year-old statues to a tycoon by the name of Max Winters, who is voiced by Patrick Stewart. Yes, that's right, Professor X himself is in this movie. Anyway, April then decides to call Casey because Casey is the one who's supposed to be driving the delivery truck. And Casey is voiced by Chris Evans. Yes, Captain Frickin' America voices Casey Jones in this movie. I'm not gonna lie, that is actually a really good casting choice. I definitely think he was probably my favorite Casey Jones. Probably the most underrated Casey Jones. I mean, besides the one from the 2003 cartoon, and a few other versions of Casey Jones. Anywho, they then arrive at Winter's Tower with the final general. And while transporting the general, the statue of the final general, Casey accidentally knocks down a vase, thus activating Winters' security system, locking down his tower. April then meets with Winters in his office, along with Casey, and April gets one final look of the general named Aguila. Pretty soon, April and Casey end up leaving, but not without Winters getting one final visitor in the form of Karai and the Foot Clan, who are now being forced to work as hired guns since the Shredder has, well, since the Shredder is gone. Yes, that's right. The Foot are reduced to being hired goons. Winters tells Karai that he has got some friends coming to town. And he wants her and the Foot Clan to roll out the red carpet for them. And thus, Winters reveals, and thus it is revealed to be the monsters. So, yet again, Raph is yet again breaking up another robbery as the Night Watcher, as it's the same guy he had busted a couple weeks ago. Of course, while teaching this crook a lesson on a rooftop, he is then interrupted by Casey. Casey tells Raph, "Yeah, I know it's you, bud. You look like a big metal turtle." And Raph is like, "That obvious?" And then Raph and Casey end up talking. Raph is like, "I could never leave this place. Heck, I can't even fall asleep with the rolling of the subway rolling over my head. I don't even care if Leo comes back." But Casey is I kind of like how Casey is the one giving advice to Leo about brotherhood. I mean, especially saying, if it were my brother, I'd try to find a way to work things out. And yes, he's talking about how, he wants, that April wants him to be more mature and stuff. But Casey's like telling him, I could never be the grown-up she wants me to be. And then Raph falls asleep. Thus, we get the shot of a plane, and Leonardo coming out of the gears of the plane as it's descending. Leonardo jumps from the wheels of the plane as he paraglides down to the city below, and then dives into the ocean, where he finds the entrance to the sewer-like lair. Leonardo then enters Master Splinter's room, where he talks with Master Splinter, and Master Splinter welcomes Leonardo home. Now, Master Splinter is voiced by the legendary late great Mako, who we tragically lost that same year in 2007. Anyway, he tells Leo, until your team could become one, until you and your brothers could become one again, you are forbidden from fighting. So, Raphael overhears this, and, of course, tensions between the brothers, or between Leonardo and Raphael, begin flaring immediately, especially when Raphael thinks that Leonardo's gonna leave again. Of course, Leonardo sees his brothers Michelangelo and Donatello, who are happy that Leo is back. So, onto the rooftops. So, Leonardo takes the brothers up to the rooftops and begin talking. As Leonardo plans to get his team back into shape again. Michelangelo, being Michelangelo, saying, "Well, while you were gone, my video game stores have doubled." And then Leonardo says, "And while you've been playing games, little brother, this Night Watcher character has become a vigilante showboat." But then Raphael chews out Leonardo, saying, "Well, the Night Watcher at least was picking up the slack. Crime didn't take a vacation, Leo. You did." But then the turtles then hear a roar from the construction site and go in to investigate it. despite the fact that Splinter had told Leonardo that he and his brothers were not allowed to fight. But regardless, the Turtles watch as the Foot Clan are getting thrashed by a ginormous monster. And so, the Turtles then decide to follow Raphael into the battle because Raphael being impatient, Leo reluctantly going, man. And then Leo is briefly attacked with Karai, as he is then having to fight against Karai for a brief time, while the Turtles are fighting against the giant monster. Leo then joins the battle, and the fight is actually well paced, as the Turtles seem to be outmatched by this thing. But a piece of debris falls on the Turtles as they were wrecking the skyscraper that's being built. The monster then retreats as he's then taken down very easily by the 4 stone generals. After the monster is captured by the stone generals, Karai then talks to Winters about their disapproval of having to be forced to deal with monsters. But Winters tells her, "I'm sorry if your organization is being forced to be hired guns, but nevertheless, Karai, you may be the eyes and ears, but they are the muscle. They will help you capture the 13 monsters, or the other 12 of these abominations." We then cut back to the Turtles' lair as they are having breakfast. Of course, Splinter then finds out what the Turtles were up to last night, and he's not pleased about it. As he then chews out Leonardo, saying, "There's no excuses, my son." And Leonardo says, "Yes, father, I apologize." Raph goes out, and he ends up going to Casey's place. He and Casey end up going to the rooftop to talk until they spot one of the monsters being apprehended by the Foot Clan and the stone statues. And Casey making a joke saying, "You know I only got a wooden bat, right?" And Raph says, "Hey, the statues were new to me too." So the duo end up being found out by the Foot Clan and the statues, only to be chased down. Raph gets tranked by a tranquilizer dart into his arm. But thankfully, the statues retreated as one of the stone generals was chasing Raphael and Casey. But after the police helicopter shined on one of the statues, the statue disappeared. However, Aguila, the leader of the stone generals, basically disapproves of Winters wanting to break the curse, saying that we won't be immortal anymore. But Winters says it must be done. But Aguila tells the other generals Yodel has become blind. The 13th monster must not be found. And we cut to the next monster being this really small crab-looking thing, as it's wreaking havoc on a diner. The Night Watcher ends up coming. Raph, dressed up as the Night Watcher, ends up coming in to kick the monster's butt. But hilarity ensues as he's trying to kick the monster's butt. The monster retreats, only for Raph to find out that he was being stalked by Leo. And, of course, a chase ensues through Chinatown as Leo is chasing the Night Watcher, or Raph, through the streets of Chinatown, only to discover, once they get to a nearby rooftop called the Red Room Inn, Leo discovers that Raph had been the Night Watcher, and then the two begin to fight, pouring over their issues with each other. We see it all come out between these two brothers, as they provide the conflict within the team themselves. I know Raph and Leo have squabbled before, but this is one of the times that it's gotten this hectic, as they are fighting in the middle of a rainstorm. As they are fighting in the middle of the rain, Raph ends up breaking Leo's katana and ends up retreating, realizing he could have almost killed his brother. But then the stone statues end up kidnapping Leo. So we get to the epic climax. Casey and April, along with the Turtles and Splinter, basically resurface to storm Winters' tower. They fight off an army of foot ninja. Then, of course, they reach Leo in the middle of the tower lobby. There, the Turtles end up breaking Leo out of the cage he was kept in. The generals end up turning on Winters, and thus the final battle ensues, as the Turtles end up fighting against Winters' 4 generals. Each of the Turtles split up against the generals, fighting them all 1v1, only for then the 13th